Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Olive Tree with me, Julia Fisher. This programme aims to ask one question: what is God doing in Israel today? For many years now, we've been bringing you the stories of both Jewish and Arab believers in Jesus who live in Israel and the wider Middle East. Today we're taking that a step further and taking a global view. My guest today is Dan Sered. Born in Israel, he used to be director of the Jews for Jesus team there. Today, however, he is the Chief Operating Officer of Jews for Jesus outside of North America, based in New York. Put simply, he oversees the work of all the missionaries for Jews for Jesus around the world. So I asked him to take us on a world tour.
Well, Julia, you're going to need to help me out. You need to pick a country. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with Hungary.
So Hungary is a very unique Jewish population centered in Budapest, which of course is the capital. And the Hungarian Jewish community has suffered a lot throughout especially during the Holocaust. But today in Hungary, the Jewish population is mixed and it's there. So you've got some what we call Jewish intellectuals. These are older Jewish people who are very smart, very well educated, very well read. Of course, most of them are atheists or agnostics, secular, but still keep to some sort of Jewish tradition. And a lot of them are Holocaust survivors or ones that were children in the Holocaust. And we have a really unique opportunity to serve them and to come and to provide community for them and to provide ways to connect to Jewish tradition and to Jewish customs, but also to bring them the gospel. So I'm very excited about what God is doing among those people. In our team there, we have 2 full-time missionaries who are dedicated to love and serve those Jewish people. And alongside them, there is a vibrant Jewish student movement in the Jewish universities, and we're also looking to ways to reach to them. They're a little bit having less knowledge of Jewish traditions. A lot of them may not even recognize that they're Jewish. So, in conversations with them, that's not something that's so important to them, but they're interested and they're curious. So that gives us a good touch point to engage them and to share the gospel with them.
What about Germany and France? Large Jewish populations there. Are they surprised when they know that you're there working amongst them?
Well, so first of all, Germany does not have, I don't know what you mean by a large Jewish population. Germany doesn't have a large Jewish population that I would say. France does.
Yeah.
France is the largest Jewish population in all of Europe. And in Berlin, where our missionaries are located, right now we're focusing on 2 demographics within the Jewish people. In the Israeli community, there are Israelis who have moved to Germany. We're looking at anywhere between 5 and 10,000. And then there is a large Russian-speaking Jewish population in Berlin as well. So we've got teams who are working on reaching out to the Russian-speaking Jews in Berlin. Most of them are older and they're struggling and making their life in Germany, in Berlin. And we're able to come in and to help them and to share the gospel with them. A lot of those German Jews in Berlin are not connected to any Jewish heritage or Jewish community, so we can provide that for them as well. The Israelis that are coming to Berlin are mainly younger people, younger families, and they're just struggling to navigate life in Germany and in Berlin, struggling with some bureaucracy and whatever, and we're able to really come alongside them and help them, and then even give them some German lessons. And we've got a German Hebrew speaker on staff. She's an Israeli. So she's able to offer those free lessons and through that engage with the gospel. So it's really exciting what God is doing in Berlin among both the Israelis and the Russian-speaking Jews.
You say that there are a lot of Israelis moving to Berlin. Why would Israelis want to go and live in Berlin with all the history that's gone on?
Yeah, so Israelis like to travel, and a lot of them are dissatisfied with Israel. And Germany is a country that has opened herself up to Jewish people. So, Germany, of course, is a Western country and has been very supportive of Israel since 1948. You know, a lot of it has to do with the guilt of the Holocaust and so on. So, Israelis love to travel there. Again, the numbers are not so great. Like I said, 5 to 10,000, maybe. But still, it's a good opportunity. Now, you asked about France as
Yes,
well.
yes.
In Paris has a very significant and a large Jewish community. Of course, that Jewish community, just like, by the way, the Jewish community in Budapest as well, as of late have been plagued with
Mm.
anti-Semitism. So that's an issue that's there in France. And one of the most significant things that happened in France is that we were able to engage the evangelical community and the evangelical leadership of the churches, the Evangelical Alliance of France, to come together and to stand against anti Semitism. And together with them, we organized a conference where these evangelical leaders within France would stand up and would speak against anti Semitism. And together, when we came about with this conference, what we did is we invited the Jewish community and then some rabbis, and even the Israeli ambassador to France showed up to this conference. And they all, of course, were really encouraged and even spoke alongside these evangelical leaders speaking against anti Semitism. And it was an amazing opportunity. This was a few years ago. And because of that, and through that, the Jewish community in France, we've had some really good connections with the Jewish community in France. And our Jews for Jesus French director has had now the opportunity to build a relationship with a particular synagogue where he has been helping to lead the synagogue in some of their services, including last year and this year's high holiday services. And so we've got some deep engagement within that synagogue community. And this is like the book of Acts. This is like the time of the Apostle Paul when he would come in and preach the gospel in the synagogue. That's what we're seeing in France, in Paris today. It's really exciting. And, again, they know that we're Messianic Jews, that we're Jewish people who believe in Jesus, and they have welcomed us into their community. It's our community, and we're able to really engage with them and really have some open, frank discussions about Jesus being the Jewish Messiah, and would covet your prayers for that continued relationship. There's a lot of opportunities of engaging the gospel with Jewish people and communities all over the world, in France in particular. So we're really encouraged.
That's a very interesting scenario. So, I mean, it's such an unusual
Yeah.
situation as well to have that level of cooperation. Do you think that's entirely due to the anti Semitism that's affecting all Jewish people in Paris? It's the common enemy that's brought them together?
It's. I think in France, that's the case. I wouldn't say in other countries. I wouldn't say in the United States, but in France, it seems to be a case. And also, I think that there is some, where we have an authentic Jewish testimony that's been really attractive to this particular Jewish synagogue in Paris that we've been able to engage with. So the head of our work in France is extremely talented, and he's got a good voice, and he knows all the Hebrew prayers and chants. So I think that that's also something that's been really attractive to them, of course, together with the stand against anti-Semitism that us ourselves as Jews for Jesus in France, we face all the time as well. We're not shy of the fact that we're Jewish people. We're not ashamed of the fact that we love Jesus. Jews for Jesus, we're very bold in our witness. So we've faced our own share of anti-Semitism. And I think the Jewish community is recognizing that we are indeed a part of the Jewish community.
So, we've touched on Europe. What about South Africa then? Many people there?
Yeah, so in South Africa, we have, again, just like in Hungary, we have two full-time missionaries. In South Africa, the Jewish community is decreasing. And, South Africa life is difficult. The country has a lot of problems. So as of late, South African Jews have left, but there's still some. Our ministry is operating out of Johannesburg, and our ministry there is focusing on Jewish Gentile couples. As you probably are aware, Jewish people outside of Israel, the rate of intermarriage between Jewish and Gentiles is really high. And in South Africa, we have missionaries who are trained in ministry to those couples, because those couples, when they come together and maybe after the honeymoon period, they're facing some challenges, and they don't have spiritual harmony. And sometimes cases are all different. Sometimes you can have a Gentile person who is a believer, sometimes they're not a believer. And same thing with the Jewish person. Most of the time, of course, the Jewish person is not a believer. And, but when they come together, and of course, the Jewish culture and customs and the Gentiles' culture and customs, how do you bridge that? Well, we believe that bridge is Jesus, and that you can have spiritual harmony in your marriage and in your relationship, and through Messiah Jesus and through the gospel. So it brings us a good opportunity to help those folks navigate those cultural differences, and and navigate those communication difficulties. And yeah, we're seeing some really encouraging results and engagements, and so that's really exciting. By the way, we do Jewish Gentile ministry, and not just in South Africa, but in other countries as well.
You've been listening to Dan Sered of Jews for Jesus, and we'll hear more about what Jews for Jesus missionaries are doing in Jerusalem on next week's programme. The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please visit our website, olivetreefund.org. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.